Hey up everybody, welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel and welcome back again to Velogames, where today we're going to be talking about Basque Country. Tour of Basque Country, Itzulia Basque Country, different names that it has, and of course it starts tomorrow, so this is quite last minute, but better late than never I guess. Probably should have done this earlier, but my bad. Anyway, Basque Country, it's filled with loads of great riders, absolutely tons of great riders. So on screen we're going to be going through some of the riders. I'll perhaps give you some team options, riders who I think you should put on, maybe riders you think you should be avoiding, perhaps they're a bit overpriced in my opinion. So let's go with over top. It's the first battle of the year between Tadej Pogacar and Primož Roglic since their infamous battle, or I guess you'd say famous battle, at the Tour de France last year. Now I guess your options are you pick both of them, you pick one of them, or you pick none of them. I think picking none of them is really brave, considering the fact that these guys just have such an incredible palmares when it comes to stage racing, and in general I'd be really surprised if one of these guys didn't win. Maybe the other person who might win is Adam Yates. However, in my opinion, perhaps going with an Ineos rider is a bit risky, considering that yes, Yates is probably one of the only people who could take it to Primož and Pogacar. However, Ineos also have Carapaz and Tega in Hart, so it's a bit up in the air as to, yes, they'd probably work for Yates, but it's not absolutely certain, in the same way that at Catalonia I put Carapaz on and Yates, and Carapaz ended up doing nothing. So that means that if you pick one of them and they start doing badly, then they're going to start doing really badly. But they will probably win the team classification, so you could probably pick a lower point Ineos rider and they'd do quite well. Max Schachmann is an interesting one that I initially wrote off and said no, I'm not picking him, but when you think about it, the time trial to start with followed by subsequent stages means that Schachmann might be quite hard to shift out of first position or a high position in GC. And a lot of these climbs don't go above hover around 500 meters. They're about 5 kilometers long. The gradients are quite sharp. How Schachmann would deal with that, he's done well in this race before. I remember the last edition he won 3 stages and he finished 10th on GC. So he does really well in the short term, but maybe his overall GC position might not be too great at the end of it. Of course, they also have Wilco Kelderman, who's here, and they also have Patrick Conrad, they also have Emmanuel Buchmann. So who they're going to go with, again, up in the air, but Schachmann's usually quite good for going for stages. Valverde is looking really strong, so by all means pick Valverde. Hugh Carthy, just a solid pick for perhaps the top 10 on GC. Chavez looked really good at Catalonia. I'd probably be favouring him over Carthy. I think that Chavez is looking really great. Perhaps was it a flash in the pan? Was it just, or is this like consistency that's going to continue? Difficult to say. I think that's more up to your opinion than mine. Izagirre usually goes well in this race. Usually, that doesn't mean he will do this time. But just in general, Astana look like Izagirre is probably the best bet, especially since he finished third at Paris-Nice. Decent time trialist, and just coming into some good form by the looks of things. Guillaume Martin, maybe. Mass crashed the other day, so I probably won't be picking him. Mike Woods is probably looking to build up some good form for the Ardennes Classics, which start in 2 weeks. So he's probably quite a good bet because he's going to be coming into some good form. Therefore, he's going to be looking to test his legs here. Buchmann, bit of a weird one. Perhaps if I'm going for a Bora person, I'd be going for... I guess you could pick Buchmann. I just think that whoever you pick from Bora is a bit like Ineos. If one of them does well, perhaps the other two might not. David Gaudu, I pick for Paris-Nice. He'll probably go well here because of the steep gradients. Also, Mikel Landa just missed consistent. Probably finish like top 6 on GC. Probably won't win a stage, but will just be very consistently getting you points. Quite a nice safe bet. Bilbao, probably in support of Landa. Cosnefroy, he'll be going for stages, and I think that's quite a risky move. That's something I've done in the past. Banking on people winning stages like a Hirschi is not as secure as somebody going for GC. So if you can, pick somebody going for GC instead. again, like Higuita's in this bracket, Hirschi's in this bracket. Those riders are all very similar. However, Hirschi would perhaps be going for GC a bit more. Bauke Mollema, again, in a very similar boat. 8 pointers, none of them particularly standing out for me. I think a lot of them fall into a very mid bracket of perhaps too expensive to be kind of worthwhile. Like De Gent, he'll win from a breakaway, but that's quite risky to put 8 points on. Then you've got guys like Valerio Conti, Simon Clark, Eddie Dunbar, Simon Geschke, guys who could do really well, perhaps, and just finish in a good place on GC, win a stage, but it's just a risky bet putting 8 points on them, and perhaps you'd be better off going with a safer 6-pointer. Other 8-pointers, you've got Jesus Herrada, Matt Holmes, Impey. James Knox is quite a good one, as is Alexei Lutsenko, especially since Lutsenko finished second in a race the other day. Ben O'Connor for GC, Aurélien Palais-Pentler for GC, Dion Smith for a sprint. There'll maybe be 1-2 sprints here in this race, however they're still not flat. 6-pointers now. Catania maybe for GC, that's a mistake I made. I went too GC heavy in Paris-Nice. Maybe perhaps don't follow a massively GC focused team. Lawrence de Plus, the cheapest Ineos, so he'll perhaps get you a lot of assist points. Mikel Frolicanore is probably the fastest guy that the Koenig have. We saw in Izagirre that he's actually really good at getting over terrain and then sprinting from a small group. A rider which I'm particularly looking at thinking of putting on my team. Gino Mada, of course, was beaten by Primoz Roglic in Paris-Nice. Perhaps Bahrain will be allowing him to go into the break and try his own luck. Heidi Schelling is usually quite a good pick, however, due to the fact that Schachmann is here, he'll more than likely be on domestique duty, perhaps one to avoid. Jonas Vingegaard won an Italian stage race that I don't know the name of the other day, looked in really good form, probably the backup in case Roglic fails, and also quite a good shout for being his super domestique, therefore finishing high up on GC automatically. Lots of 4-pointers, there are so many, and a lot of them could do well. Aliotti for Bora, you got Aristi, who's a sprinter for Euskadi, you got Julien Bernard, who usually goes in breakaways for Trek Segafredo, especially since Trek look like they'll be going for that kind of approach. Perhaps Mollema's not thinking more about GC this time round. Stefan de Bod, time trialist for Astana. You've got Ian Garrison, the time trialist for De Koenig. You've got Gomai for Bike Exchange, again another kind of breakaway rider. You've got Alexander Camp, who got a couple of top 10s at Catalunya, puncheur, a very good option there. You've also got the guys from Lotto Soudal. Monique was leading the mountains classification after day one in Catalunya. Oldani, I think, is perhaps the fastest sprinter that Lotto Soudal have. You've perhaps got Christoph Fingston for assist points for Roglic. You've got a very good one in Mauri van Zevenen, who's at the bottom. Could perhaps actually surprise on a GC basis, considering how he was performing just a couple of weeks ago. And Lan van Wilde for DSM, a very promising young talent from Belgium. Time trialist GC kind of for the future. Perhaps it's a bit too early for him. In terms of, well, I realise that we're running a bit over here, but in terms of what I'm thinking that perhaps the best bet is to go for a very split strategy of really expensive and really cheap. Go with Rog and Pog. You could even pick Rog, Pog, Yates, and go with a load of 4-pointers and 6-pointers. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Or perhaps pick somebody like, go safe with Lander and Woods, or pick Chavez. There are so many good riders that at the end of the day, this is going to come a lot up to your personal opinion. I'm kind of running out of time, and because there are so many good riders, if you just want to send a message via Twitter, Instagram, put something in the comments if you have any specific riders that you want me to give my opinion on. I'd be more than happy to share my thoughts. At the end of the day, best of luck to you in Basque Country. I know it starts tomorrow. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you score some good points, and best of luck. But at the end of the day, I still hope that I win. So get your mask on, stay safe. Talk to you next time. Salut.